Hey everyone, how's it going? Gonna put these limit straps on as we said earlier, previous video. I want to take this guy out for a rip. I'm actually gonna mount them in here, the lower mounting location, and then at the inner shock mounting location. And these are the 105 mil hot racing. I noticed a lot of people ordered the 110s. I measured with 105 from here to here. It actually limits it just enough, just up a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna be happy with that. Yeah, should be good. We're gonna mount it in there. I've got some hardware out of my box of screws. It's gonna help it a lot. Just stop the shock from getting ripped out. I mean, as you can see, this is only plastic threading, right? So people say it doesn't rip out, but I've seen it happen, so yeah, I just don't want to risk it. Plus, these things look rad. To make it easy, pop off the shock here. Oop, wrong way. I also noticed that these actually stretch a little bit over time, so that's why I went 105. Everything's on compression that you need anyway, especially for a monster truck, airborne all the time. You're probably wondering why this janky soldering job here, but honestly, I would never do that. I'm usually pretty good with my soldering, but as you can see here, these wires are this just silicone cover over actually a massive piece of copper. This motor I bought off Amazon. It was like $45, but it was like 1900 kilovolts and the right size. I was like, I'll try it. So I had to do this super janky soldering job. I'm gonna take the end bell off and resolder it to the board eventually, but for now, honestly, I just had this in the box, old ESC, Viper Copperhead ESC, meant for short course trucks, and yeah, so matched up with this. I mean, my electronics cost me, between these two, $45, and this was from years ago, so it doesn't owe me anything. I raced four-wheel drive short course with this for several seasons, and then the servo is just an inexpensive SPT, no name servo. It does the job, but yeah, $30. So I just wanted to build this up as cheap as possible, just to see how it goes, because when you spend a lot of money, sometimes you get pretty discouraged if it's not the way you thought it would be. And so I definitely wanted this LMT, but I didn't want the Gravedigger. So I went with the roller. I threw in cheap electronics, and then the body, is the F250 from J Concepts. They're super cheap, $25. It deserves upgrades. It's a pretty rad little truck. So anyway, moving on, we'll do the rest. Found it was just easier to remove the shock just rather than fighting to try to get this little 3 mil nut in there. Yeah, just remove the shock if you're going to do it this way. I know most people, they like to mount these here onto these frame rails or twin vertical plates. But yeah, I just chose to mount it like this. I know you can get the hot racing ones too that are turned sideways down at the bottom, so you get one that mounts, in line with the twin vertical plates up here, and then one that can turn sideways and mount in line with the shock. These were the only ones available on sale, so I just got them. They worked. The orange matched. Even though the electronics will probably change, I'm going to go to waterproof because this thing's not waterproof in the ESC, so probably drives some of you nuts that I use these, but I do have proper tooling. I just, sometimes with the angles, you know, just works. You know, you can kind of put the nut on the end, put it on an angle. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It is what it is. Use the tool that you think works best. That can go pretty wrong though sometimes if you don't know the right tool. But anyway. Boom. Front's done. Gotta get a new servo saver. One of those Trio ones, probably. Not a big fan. New servo too. I also have this servo that I got off a guy at our track. It's a helicopter servo with ridiculous numbers, so I'll probably throw that in. I have it in my A-scale buggy right now, E-buggy. But it's overkill for even the E-buggy, so I'll throw it in this guy. Just a little thing. When I got this, I realized that the sway bars come loose all the time, and they pop out. You know, so I want to go through these and Loctite them. There are different types of Loctite. Essentially, it goes like this. Purple's the lightest. Purple's probably one of the better ones to use in the RC world, but it's not super easy to find, so you'll often see blue. Most places, most cases, you'll see blue. Red is the next step, typically. Red is much more strong to get out. Sometimes you need heat. I would not apply it in areas that are super small screws. Typically in the RC world, you won't find red very often. You will see it in nitro in certain areas, clutch bells, areas that vibrate loose a lot. And you may have to apply heat to it, so you really have to be mindful of where you put it. You know, for example, if I was to put red here and there's a plastic shim / bushing, any plastic around that area, if I have to take a little butane torch and just kind of tap it there for a couple seconds to heat it up to remove that, well, I could affect that plastic shim. So red you won't find very often in the RC world, except for large scale, quarter scale, 6 scale, and nitro. And then there's green Loctite. Green Loctite's a pretty interesting one. It often found in bearing retainers. So what will happen is you'll have a bearing pressed into a housing, and there will be green Loctite around the outside to kind of help maintain it, stay in there. Sometimes if you machine housings to the tolerance is too tight, you press a bearing in there. Maybe you've had this happen to you where you press a bearing into somewhere where a hub or somewhere where it needs to press in, and it's machined out of aluminum. And yeah, the bearing is too tight once it's pressed in there. So sometimes on bigger bearings, they'll use green Loctite or sleeves or bushings as a retaining compound. But essentially in the RC world, you'll see blue for the most part. Purple, if you find it, definitely grab it. I, however, found this orange. Kind of weird. Orange fits in between blue and red. So I've been using it on my race cars 10 scale in certain areas. I should mention actually, Loctite describes various screw sizes you should use it on. So they'll say blue on a 6 to 19 millimeter screw or bolt, red on, don't quote me on this, but yeah, there are charts out there, lots of information. Loctite, definitely give it a try if you have an area where things are coming loose, drive shafts, things like the set screws on your drive shafts, things like that. Areas that are constantly being rattled and vibrate loose, throw it on there. So yeah, I'm going to use orange because that's all I got right now. On these stainless pins they have here, you notice there's a little flat You can see that. You just got to make sure that that flat isn't twisted or bent, and it actually lines up with the center of this screw here. Should have removed the wheels. Whatever. So yeah, Florida Man is ready to go. I've added Loctite to the anti-sway bars. I've gone over some fasteners just to make sure they're snug. And yeah, let's try this thing out. The limit straps look pretty awesome. And battery is charged. So let's take this thing out for a rip.